lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan.
And I'm Manny.
We're here talking a book that really to me came out of left field, and it's the Dracula book. I guess it's going to be the new Universal Monsters line at Skybound. I kind of do know of one other project. It hasn't been announced. Somebody I know knows something and told me what one of the next ones is going to be.
There's so much of a roster in the Universal Monsters catalog that there's a lot of amazing shit you can do.
I think you'd be surprised at the next one though. I'll tell you offline. I'm not gonna say
all right,
on the recording.
Cool.
Anyway, so James Tynion the fourth, Martin Simmonds, creative team of Department of Truth.
Yeah, one of my favorite titles that I also discovered out of left field. Like I just sort of picked up a trade and fell in love with the book right away. So as soon as I saw this creative team was on this, I was like, I don't care what the project is, I'm gonna at least check out the first issue.
And it's kind of interesting because Tynion says it in the back that he had said he was going to take a break from like any of like the licensed characters. Well, maybe not licensed, but like Batman and all that stuff. DC, he left DC to do all creator own. So for him to dip back in and do this was very interesting choice. I love that Skybound's been getting some great licenses lately. There's a bunch of announcements at New York too of other companies getting licenses. Thundercats coming back. I mean, that's a story for another day.
Biker Mice from Mars.
Dude, there's so many things that are coming back, dude. So it's cool to see the Universal Monsters kind of have their own branding. Like I said, what's going to come later. I have not seen the original Dracula film. I've seen some of the original Universal Monster films when I was younger, so I don't remember them well. So I kind of came into this blind. But that doesn't take away from it. I think that, like you can come into this blind without knowing anything.
Dracula specifically, that version of Dracula is permeated the popular culture so much that I think that most of us, even if you haven't seen it, are aware of how it looks visually, are aware of the famous things like "I never drink wine" or whatever he says in the movie. It's just one of those things that like you really don't. All you need to know is have a passing idea of what the hell the Universal Monsters Dracula was, and for most people that is the Dracula they think of.
Visually, yes, I think that is the Dracula we all see when we think of Dracula. But so like one of the main focuses of this book is Renfield, who I wasn't aware of. I refer to him as Dracula's bitch before we started recording, but he's like his minion, right? Like he's
his
doing
minion.
His work.
Yeah, he's the one that Dracula will send out to do like menial tasks and things like that, and he gives him like an inkling of his power, but never really sort of fully gives him like the vampire transformation that Renfield desires. He eats bugs, which I always found
very unnerving, dude. This whole 9-panel sequence, like the close up of the bug, the way he like picks by the wings. And his super pale skin that has like this glowing quality to it.
It almost looks like he's wearing a mask, but he's not. It's just. I mean, to me, it's Simmonds' way of like just showing you like how Renfield is like devoid of humanity at this point. Like anything that really makes him human, any sort of emotion that would be expressed in a face is removed. Except for that like rictus grin he has right there. It's really, like you said, it's really unnerving. I found the entire issue unnerving,
Martin Simmonds too is phenomenal. I mean, dude. He is such a great artist. Like I forget, it's escaping me right now. It's like I've been trying to think of this as we started recording. It's really bothering me. But there was a book I discovered him on first before he did Department of Truth. And for the life of me, I cannot remember the name. It'll probably come back to me after we're done recording. But so I already knew the name before he worked with James. And now, like this pairing, it seems like they have such a good chemistry, with comics. He's like the next evolution of like a Bill Sienkiewicz mixed with David Mack almost,
Yes, I see that. And the name escapes me. I have the comics. It also reminds me of the artist who did that Wolverine Havoc series, Meltdown.
Oh man, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I can't remember the artist name either. But yeah, this is all like dealing with Renfield talking to a therapist, and like they just think he has something wrong with his blood. that's making him act like this, and he just keeps referring to Dracula as, you know, his master.
His master, yeah. Yeah, like if you don't know the plot, like Renfield was found on the boat, the Demeter, which they actually made a movie recently, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which is the first chapter of Dracula, which is the boat that brings Dracula's coffin over from England to from Transylvania over to England. Renfield was the only survivor, and like they don't think he's the killer because he's a very meek person. Even before he became Dracula's minion, he's sort of like a nebbish, like bookish, like nerdy type of guy that no one would ever think has the strength to murder an entire boat of like seasoned sailors, you know?
Yeah.
So they already think that he's crazy, you know, and they don't know why he's eating the bugs. That, you know, they're just chalking it up to insanity.
I love this double page.
No, yeah, I mean the images in this are great, and I do like that. Like, yes, they're basing it on the Universal monsters, but like it's not a direct copy. It's an adaptation in the true sense of the word. Like you know, they're bringing in their own little bits of dialogue and their own sort of visual flair to give it like, you know, like a different feel. But you can obviously tell that this is the Universal monsters like version just because of the way like Dracula's dressed. He's got like the classic look to him, you know.
I know, I love that version of Dracula the best. Like,
yeah, man. I mean, we all wore it for Halloween at one point. I'm sure. I know I did.
Yeah, I'm sure I probably did too, you know. But I just love visually, this book is beautiful. The story is very engaging too, especially for somebody like myself that maybe hasn't seen that movie. I mean, think about it. These movies they're old, man. They're like at this point,
well, they're approaching 100 years now. You know? Like, I mean,
it's nuts. It's nuts to think about. Like, sometimes I forget how old those movies really are, you know?
Yeah.
I do have the collection. I'm trying to convince my kid to pop that in for, you know, the last week before Halloween. But
yeah, they're fun.
This made me want to watch it even more, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was actually maybe going to put it on later today.
So, I mean, I love how they're discussing Renfield, and they just like...
Yeah. And this is Jonathan Harker, who's going to be one of our main protagonists.
Right.
You know, his fiance is his fiance is the one that Dracula sees as a reincarnation of his love. Right. And this is actually like her father who runs the asylum, and you know, he's telling Jonathan about Renfield. It's just a little point of interest because I mean, Harker is not a doctor. I believe he is a banker, or he deals in real estate, which is how he comes into the story.
Right. And also, like, Mina is one of the characters in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which is where I first like discovered that character in the Dracula mythos. So I think that's cool. Like, especially if like maybe you've read that, like you'll kind of like you can connect. But I love how, like, you know, Mina's dad is like wants to cure him, and even though he's done such horrible things, and John doesn't want to. He's like, what do you mean, dude? You know what I mean? Like, how could you let somebody walk free that's done that? And, you know, he inherently believes as a doctor that he can cure people and that he can save him.
Yeah. And he thinks it's some kind of blood disease because, you know, his blood is tainted with a bit of Dracula's blood. So, but again, it's something they've never seen. So they just think it's some kind of anomaly. And you know, James Tynion does a really good job of making the dialogue like modern enough that, like, you know, someone that you know might have a difficult time reading that like old timey sort of dialogue that the novel had and that the movie might even have. You know, I mean, you know, you're talking 100 years. The way people talk have changed. It really works, but without like it being like jarringly modern, which would have been a terrible thing. You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
It still does read like people from that time who are educated would speak this way.
Yes. I mean, yeah, like using the words like rubbish, like that nobody uses that word anymore.
But yeah, words that have, you know, they're no longer in the vernacular are still there. So it gives that period piece feeling.
I like that they call out like the ghouls and werewolves and the stories that are being told, because that to me is kind of hinting at like a more connected Universal Monsters
shared line. I mean,
I'm thinking that's where it is. I don't know.
I think so too. And then that's a reference to Van Helsing in that one panel where it's like there's this mad old professor who comes down to the club. He sits at a fire and tells ghost stories about strange folk legends from the past. Like, I don't even know I gotta rewatch the movie. I don't remember if Van Helsing is sort of like teased like that originally.
I feel like he was the connectivity in some of those. Like, he appeared in more than one. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I mean, he's definitely a creation of the novel. Like Van Helsing is, has been part of the Dracula mythos from the beginning. But yeah, he is a character that I think eventually they sort of expanded to become like an overall monster hunter, which is a great idea. And if they want to bridge all these new properties, Skybound does with Van Helsing, I mean, I'm on board. That's actually pretty cool. Like you said, the idea of a somewhat shared universe with these universal monsters in this time period is exciting to me.
Yeah, because I know they tried to do that a few years back. They were going to try to make a connected universe, a cinematic universe, and it just fell flat, which I'm sure they'll try to revisit again.
Yeah, I mean, they have the property, and that's the trend now. So I can see it happening, and it might be better to do it in comics. At least initially.
I agree. I think doing it in comics would kind of give you the blueprint of how to maybe do it in the films. I like this too when they're talking about Renfield, like how you said, like, he's such a little thing. How could he have such strength? And how meet his friends, like he should spend more time with you than he does your father or his club, because he's like almost, it seems like he's like almost obsessed with this kid.
Yes, yeah. And then that's gonna continue. And again, I mean, look at these pages, man. I mean, Simmonds is like, I love how you can look in, like, on some of these images, you can like see the texture of the brush strokes. You can almost feel these pages, man. I don't know what kind of media. Some of this looks like it's paint,
I wonder if it's not mixed, like where it's some of it is digital, because like I've been wrong before where I'm like, oh, this had to have been painted traditionally. And they're like, nope, that was all. I mean, because it's amazing what you can do on computers now.
And he is someone that has worked with mixed media before.
Yeah,
I mean, he's done it all, like, yeah, I even see a little Dave McKean.
That's good. Too. Dave McKean is a good callback. Yeah. I mean, I could see him painting and then maybe putting in some of the line work over to make it stand out.
Or maybe more. Like some of the color, like like changing the color a bit, or like shading or lightening up.
Look at this.
That to me is like that page with Dracula and Mina. Like, I mean, that's a fucking poster right there.
Oh yeah, and
same thing with the other one, man. Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm obsessed with the way he draws Renfield. Like, it seems so deceptively simple. Like, he looks like a cross between like a corpse and like Robert Smith from The Cure.
Does. I was just gonna say Robert Smith.
But it works. Yeah. It works because again, it gives him no. Look at how all the other faces, like, have like a very soft humanity to them. Like his doesn't. He's clearly ghoulish. I mean,
he looks like he has no nose. His eyes are sunken in. His teeth at certain points become like sharp and jagged. Like, it's really dope, dude.
No, it's amazing, man. I mean, I was so happy to see, and then like, I mean, the pages just get better and better.
This double page, dude, right here is.
Oh, like, dude, I mean, that's again, probably poster. I mean, the way that Dracula's eyes, the veins, the colors, man. I mean, it's beautiful stuff.
I love the swirlingness of it too, like where it's centered, his eyes in the center, bats, the glowing red, and then you just see like this red streak going into Dracula, then these like wolves, and then it's Dracula again, and then it just like the way you're moving,
it's like a dream.
It moves your eyes very well.
Yeah, and it does have that dream like vision quality, which I mean, it seems ethereal. I think is the word I'm looking for.
Ethereal is a very good description. Yeah, I like this too. Like when you flip the page and Dracula's standing over the woman, and he just turns back, and then he disappears, and he turns into a bat. You don't actually.
I see a lot of Sienkiewicz in this page too. Like like especially in those three like angled panels there.
Yeah, Renfield.
Great image of Renfield.
I know, and I love the contrast of Renfield and the Doctor. And how it's just completely red, and then here it's like showing a man of like intelligence, education, right, with all these like the background text behind.
That's something he does a lot in Department of Truth, is like work the background in to be like a something like that. You know what I mean? Where it's not really the background of the character, but sort of like what they're reading, which is something you see in movies. I mean, Simmonds is also, despite being such an experimental artist, he's also very cinematic. And you did that when you talked about that panel we showed earlier where it flows, like Simmonds has such a mastery of layout and getting your eyes to flow across the page in this really elegant way, man. I mean, he's like brutal and grotesque and elegant and beautiful at the same time.
I agree, dude. And the light and dark contrast too. Again, the way he's using color to like set the tone for this, and even like using it as a way to show the difference in each character. Like this glowing white light almost like he's like a man of God going against a
Yes.
man of Satan.
Yeah. And I mean, I love that image with Renfield and all the bugs. I mean, it's
Yeah.
creepy. Like I was unnerved, and I read it in the middle of the afternoon, and I was creeped out. You know.
I read it read it at night. So it definitely permeated my dreams that night, dude, for sure.
And
But
I love that Renfield, like it ends with like, I don't want to be cured. Like Renfield, like he's enjoying this, and then we got this image of Dracula in his coffin, and what a great way to end it too. I mean, you got to think that in adapting the movie, they got to come up with the best possible chapter breaks for each issue to leave you like satisfied yet wanting more. And I think this was great. I mean, again, it's not easy to adapt a movie that's 100 years old almost, and so many people have seen and make it seem fresh, and they did it.
Yeah, I agree, dude. And again, like I mentioned, a great letter from James Tynion the fourth. Get
Oh
some
yeah,
great,
definitely read it.
yeah.
Read the letter. It's gonna tell you like why he did the project, and make it like a little special. And I love these sketches from. I mean, if these are Simmonds' fucking sketches, dude. His sketches are like the finished work of other people. Like.
No, these are great. And I feel like these are probably some of the sketches might be more of like digital as
Yeah.
opposed to traditional. Like you can kind of see it, but just phenomenal. Some back ads, but
Yeah.
and then the
I'm
previous
definitely.
issue
I
too.
already added this to my pull list, man.
Yeah,
And
it's not cool.
If the rest of the Universal Monster stuff from Skybound is this kind of quality, then I mean we're in for a treat if you're
I
into horror
agree.
comics.
For
Because
sure, dude. I'm here for all of them. I love the Universal Monsters, so
yeah,
definitely pick this book up. It's well worth it. Perfectly timed for the Halloween season,
yeah,
and
and a bit of a sleeper because I haven't seen a lot of press
coverage on
about it.
it.
I haven't seen a lot
No,
of push.
it's kind of weird, yeah. But I'm glad we
Yeah,
did it. And check it out. Check out our Halloween horror theme playlist as well. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video drops. And on that note, we're out.
later, guys.